guys, it is day 16 of Halloween nail designs, and I'm super excited for this one because I am doing a set inspired by my tattoo there, that little eyeball bat. It is one of my favorite tattoos. It is just super cute. Um, anyhow, to start off, I'm just taking this color from Daily Charm. I think it's called Celestial Charm. It's this really pretty purple cat eye, and it has like purpley pinky glitters in it, and it also has like some blue glitters in it, and it just looks really cool. um I They don't have it on their website anymore. I did get this out of their Halloween charm box last year, so I don't know if this was like a charm box exclusive color, or if it like they sold out of it and they just decided not to bring it back, or what. I don't know. I don't remember what it said on the little card that it had. Usually it'll tell you if it's exclusive to the box or not, and I don't have that card anymore. uh, so unfortunately, you cannot get this color. I wish you could though, because I love it. It is such a pretty cat eye color. But anyhow, I went through, applied it, and brought out the magnet pieces in it. I think I just kind of ran the magnet there along the sides to just kind of bring them up. I wasn't really doing like any kind of design or pattern. I just wanted all the magnet pieces up to the surface of the nail. And I want to say I did 2 coats of this color, because looking at it here on the screen, it looks pretty see-through, but also I cannot remember exactly how many coats I did, because I did film this a while ago and I'm just now getting around to um, editing and doing the voiceover and everything. So I don't know, but I'm pretty sure I did end up doing 2 coats of this, and I magnetized both coats and cured both coats for 60 seconds, and I magnetized it the same way on both coats. If I did do 2 coats, but I'm like 99% sure I did, because it does look pretty see-through even after magnetizing it. So I probably definitely did do 2 coats of this. And I was right, I did do 2 coats. I'm actually showing me painting on the second coat, which is weird because usually I don't do that. I only show me doing 1 coat, and if I do any more after that, I don't show it because it gets repetitive. I might have just shown it just because it's cat eye and it's fun to watch the magnet pieces move around when you magnetize it and everything. And oh, I was gonna say, I don't know if I showed all of them or not, but I did not. I only showed that one with the second coat. So after all of that is done, I went ahead and wiped off the sticky layer, because I am going to be going in with some nail art. And like I always say, whenever doing nail art, you do want to remove that sticky layer, because it does kind of make your lines or your dots or whatever you're doing on top of there kind of spread out. And obviously we don't want that. We want our lines and dots and stuff to be nice and crisp, unless you're going for that like blown out kind of look, but that's not what I was going for here. So to start off, I'm just taking the white from Ball Picked and drawing on the, or painting on the little eyeballs. I'm using a 9mm liner brush, my go-to for just about anything that I do, unless it's a French tip, or if I'm doing a long, like an extra long nail, and I need to do a straight line going, vertically or horizontally. Even on a shorter nail like this, sometimes I'll use a longer liner brush just so I don't have to do so much work. But anyhow, a 9mm Um, I don't know if this is my ball pit 9mm or my Nails by Dev 9mm, but it's one of the two. I think it's the Nails by Dev one. It looks a little thinner. Anyhow, so like I said, just went through and painted on these circles. I did try to make them as perfect as I could, and make them look more circly than how this is looking right now. It kind of looks a little lopsided. Tried to make them look a little more even. One trick that I see a lot of people doing to do circles is they'll do like a plus sign and then connect the points with the curved lines. I don't do that because it always ends up being like uneven and lumpy, and I gotta fix it anyways, so I just go ahead and just paint a circle on and struggle that way instead. um, I did only do one coat of this white for all of this. I am going to be adding more on top of it, so if it was a little see-through, it wasn't going to matter anyways, because there are going to be some more colors getting added on top of it. But I tried to make it a nice even layer and not like, you did see there a little bit, the middle part was looking a little thin, and you could kind of see that purple through. I just filled that in a little more. Some of the nails got one eyeball, some of the nails got two eyeballs, and on the ones that got two eyeballs, I should not have done two eyeballs on any of them. I really should have only done one eyeball on all of them. But I underestimated how big I was going to end up doing the wings on these. I thought, oh, I can make the wings kind of small and fit at least two eyeballs on this length of nail. And if I would have made the wings smaller, I could have easily fit it. I mean, two fit on the nails in the end. But it gets a little complicated when I get to the wing part. And you will see that, and I'll explain that when we get there. But yeah, realistically, I probably should have only done one on these, at least at the size that I was doing them at. And that's another thing. Like I said, if I would have done the wings smaller, it would have been a little better. But also at the same time, with the size of the eyeballs, I couldn't do the wings too much smaller, because then it would have been like, it wouldn't be proportionate, I guess. Kind of like bees are, you know? How their bodies are so much bigger than their wings, and like they're not supposed to be able to fly, but they can. Or I think it's like honeybees or bumblebees. Not honeybees, bumblebees? Or is it all bees? I don't know. That is one of those facts that I got told, you know, in like first grade or something, and it's stuck with me that, oh, bees aren't supposed to fly, and they're like, you know, scientific anomaly or whatever, because they can fly when they're not supposed to. Anyhow, so that's kind of the same theory here with the wings and whatever. Anyhow, I got all those on, and because I am going to be painting over them, I cured for a full 60 seconds so that this layer will be fully cured and we don't have to worry about uncured gel in the end, because if you did flash cure it wouldn't be fully cured, and then adding all these other layers on top of it would make it very difficult, possibly even impossible, for the light rays to penetrate through all of those layers, depending on how thick they are and all of that jazz. So cure that first layer completely and then move on to the next layer, and that's how I do all my nail art. If I'm painting on top of it, on top of one layer, then I will cure that first layer for the full 60 seconds. If it's the last layer, I'll just flash cure it and move on. For the iris of the eyes, I was struggling trying to figure out what color I wanted to do. You know, I could have done the classic red spooky eye because it's Halloween. But also, I'm like, everyone always does red eyes, I feel like, for spooky eyes for Halloween. And I did want it to be a spooky looking eye. I didn't want it to be realistic and be like a brown eye or a blue eye or a green eye or anything like that. Then I thought about doing it purple. I'm like, I don't know. I did the background purple. That might be too much purple. And then I sat there looking at my polishes for a while, and then I saw this color, which is Evil Eye from Ball Pit, and I thought it'd be the perfect color because yellow is also another color that gets used for like creepy, spooky eyes, but I feel like it doesn't get used as much as like red does, because like red gives that really like angry, creepy, mean, evil look to it. But I really like this yellow, and I thought it went really well with the purple. And before I got the pupils on, they were looking kind of like eggs. But I just went through, painted those on, and I used my liner brush to paint those on because I didn't really have a dotting tool that was big enough to do the iris, and then cured that for 60 seconds because I did have to go in and do the pupil, which I just dotted on with a small dotting tool with the black from Ball Pit. And then I just flash cured that because, like I said, it's the last layer. I could flash cure it and then be able to do a 60-second cure at the end, and it would be cured. Now I'm going in. What did I use for this? Was it Jolly Jelly? No. I don't remember what color I used, and I completely missed it come up on the screen. But it's a red color, and I used it to create the little like veins in the eyes. I just did some teeny tiny little squiggly lines. Some of them are like connected together, some of them are separate, they go in different directions, all squiggly and whatnot, because I did want these to look kind of bloodshot. I also used that same color to do the, what's it called? The optic nerve on the eye for the little like tail of it. And from some angles it's a little hard to see against the purple. I could have done a second coat to make it pop out a little more, but I also didn't want to do a second coat. Kind of just wanted to leave it at one coat, so I did just leave it at one coat. And on the ones where it's two eyes, I tried to do the little nerve part going different directions to kind of make it appear like the eyes are flying in different directions, you know? And then once I got all that on, I did flash cure it. So for the wings of the bats, I was going to do purple, and I was going to use this purple called Spell on You from Nails by Dev because it was a light purple and I thought it would work well, and you'd be able to you'd be able to see it, and like it would show up better against the cat eye. But then once I painted it on, I was like, okay, yeah, no, that's not gonna work. You can't really see it. So then I switched over to using this gray. I think this is Foggy Mist, or it might be Gravedigger. I don't know. I show all of the colors that I use on screen. If I ever miss whatever color I'm saying, they're always shown on screen so you guys know what colors I'm using. I also have them linked down below. Usually, if they can be linked down below, like I said, that Daily Charm one can't because they don't have it on their website. But if it is something that is available, it'll be linked down below. It also, like I said, shows up on the screen. So anyhow, just use this gray to do the wings of the bat, and I try very carefully to make sure that I don't get any of the gray on the actual eyeball part. And I just do some bat wings. I tried to make them look as closely as I could to the ones from my tattoo. It was a little difficult because they were getting cut off and I couldn't like fully get the full wings, so they do kind of look a little weird right now. But don't worry, they're gonna look more like wings in the end once we add on some more details. And then after I get the wings on, I do a full 60-second cure because like I just said, we are going to add some more details onto them. So I am going to be painting on another layer of polish on top of them. And I want to make sure that this layer is fully cured. Also, I apparently didn't film making the eyes look more bloodshot. I did add a jelly gel polish onto them, like around the perimeter of the eyeball, like where the veins are and stuff, to make them look more bloodshot. It's kind of hard to see on camera right now, but they are tinted a little more red because, like I said, I did use a red jelly polish. I used Jolly Jelly from Ball Pit for that, to do that, just to make them look a little more red and bloodshot and spooky looking. I'm not gonna lie, when I went in to... I am moving so slow. I thought it was like frozen for a second with how slow I was going. I am a very slow painter. Anyhow, going into this, I, for some reason, was like, oh, this will be a really quick and easy set to do. Like, it's not going to take me that long. It didn't take them long to do the tattoo. It's not going to take me long to paint these on the nails. Like, eyeballs are pretty easy and straightforward. Bat wings, a little more complicated, but they're not super hard either. So I'm like, yeah, I'll get this done pretty quickly. And then it took me forever to do because I added so much more detail and I just kept adding more to it. Like, I wasn't originally going to do all the little veins and making them look bloodshot and like the wings. I wasn't really planning on doing all the detail that I did on it to make them look like wings, and it got a little out of hand there, a little carried away. Probably if I would have just stuck with doing like an outline like how my tattoo is, it wouldn't have taken as long, but that would have been really boring to just have an outline. of that on the nail. I thought it'd be more fun to bring it to life and add some color to it and whatever. But that always happens. I'm always like, okay, I'm gonna sit down, do a quick and easy nail set, take at most, an hour, hour and a half to do a set. And then I end up sitting there and I do some super extra nail set that ends up taking me like, 2.5, 3 hours to do because I'm trying to do all this extra stuff. And as I'm sitting there doing the set, I just start thinking of something else to do. And I'm like, ooh, let me do this. And I'm like, oh, let me do this. And I'm like, let me do this. And I just keep adding more and more and more. I can never just sit down and do something quick and simple that's not going to take very long. I always gotta, you know, I start out doing something simple and then I gotta make it 10 times more complicated and make it take, twice as long as how long I was planning on taking. But I do enjoy it. Like, it's really fun and the time goes by really quickly for me. Like, I don't even realize that I'm spending as much time as I am whenever I'm painting nails because this is really fun to me. I really enjoy it. And I do really like testing things out and like pushing my limits and doing stuff that I'm not quite comfortable with and like really pushing myself to try and improve my skills and to get better at what I'm doing. And this is just like a really, I don't want to say calming because it's not always a calming thing to be doing because I do get frustrated sometimes with what I'm doing. Like if something's not coming out right or, what I'm trying to do isn't translating well on the nail or I can't get something to work out. So it's not always calming, but it is therapeutic in a way, even when things aren't going right, because then I get to sit there and think and try and figure out and test out some more stuff. And that's what I really love about doing nails is like testing out new things and trying out new things and like figuring out how to do something and even like taking things that are already well known and like that everybody knows how to do and everybody does it the same way because you saw one person do it and then someone else started doing it that way and then it's just kind of like a domino effect and everybody starts doing that way. And I like to see sometimes if I can figure out an easier way to do it. Because sometimes I just see some things and I'm like, that seems like a really complicated way to do it. Let me see if there's an easier way because, sometimes you don't want to be sitting there spending so long doing nails. You kind of want like a quicker, more efficient way to do something. So I like to try and figure that out sometimes. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. I think most of the time I can't. But still, it's fun. It's fun to play around, experiment. And I have like a whole bunch of different items that I have collected over the years for nail art that I like to play around with. I'll dig around in my drawer sometimes and I'm like, oh, I forgot I had this, and then I'll do something with it. And it's just really fun. But anyhow, now that I'm done with that little ramble, I am just going to let this play out and I will come back whenever I need to come back. Okay, so like I was saying earlier with these nails that have two bats on them, the wings got a little complicated here because they overlapped, and you can see right here I'm struggling a little bit to try and figure this out on like how do I do this so I can still see the wings and like be able to tell there's two separate wings. And like I said, I wasn't planning on adding as much detail as I did on the wings. I was just going to do the same lines that were on the wings. Um, but because of this overlap here, I had to figure out a way to make them look like two separate wings. Like, so you could look at the nail and see like, oh yeah, it's two separate wings, and it's not like one big confusing blob like it is as I'm painting it at the moment. And even as I was painting this, I was getting so confused. I'm like, what is what, where, like what part goes where, which part of, which bat is this a part of? Like it was a little confusing and a little complicated, and it took me a bit longer, partially because of this whole overlap of the wings, and like that just looks like a hot mess right now, but trust me, it's going to look a whole lot better. So I decided to take the Baddest Black Liner Gel from Nails by Dev and do like the lines on the wings, I guess, like separating the different panels of the wings, if that's what they're, I don't know exactly what they're called, but I'm like going to call them panels because I don't know, it just makes sense. So I just take the line from the point from the top of the wing down to what would be the point at the bottom of the wing, like on that like you can see those little points down there. I took it down to that, I think. At least that's how it is on my tattoo, and I think I tried it. Yeah, I did it to that point, and I kept them pretty thin because I didn't want like a super thick line. Honestly, I couldn't tell you why I didn't want a thick line, but I didn't want a thick line. So I tried really hard to keep them super thin. They are a little uneven, a little shaky, but it's fine because once I do the next step, like, you really can't tell too much how funky these nail or the wings, these lines are looking on these wings. And like I said, here I am again trying to figure out like what goes where, what wing is part of the bat, and like where I need to do the line in order to, define which part goes for what bat. So, like I said, it was a little tricky. I did do a little bit of like outlining on the wings to define it a little more between the two different wings you can see right here, and I did that even thinner and even lighter than I was doing the actual lines on the wings themselves, because I didn't want it to be like a cartoon where it's like that thick outline and you can, distinctly tell that way. I wanted it to look a little more realistic, like if these were to actually exist, or even if you were to just see like two bats or two birds or whatever and their wings like overlapped. You could, like, they don't have those super thick outlines like a cartoon would, so I wanted it to kind of be similar like that. But yeah, it was a little a little complicated, and like I said, I was just supposed to leave it at that, but I needed some more detail. I needed to separate those wings a little bit, so I took the black shading gel from Nails by Dev, and I think this is this is my 5 millimeter liner brush. Um, I took, I don't know why I decided to use this brush actually. I could have just used the 9 millimeter, but for some reason I felt like the 5 millimeter was going to be the one that I had to use. But anyhow, I just took this black shading gel and I went directly over top those lines that I did, and also like kind of on either side of it a little bit, or like tried to make sure that when I went over it, the shading gel was going on either side to give a little more definition to the wings. I also added this shading gel in some various other spots to kind of give like a realistic kind of wing look. I think I tried putting it um, around some of the eyeballs to make them look a little more rounded. And this is what really helped to separate the wings on the nails with the two eyes on them, and really help you be able to see the two separate wings and see which wing belongs to which bat. So you'll see here, once I start adding that shadowing there, or that shading gel here on these two wings here, you're really going to be able to see that difference in between the two wings and really be like, okay, yeah, now I can see it's two separate wings for two separate little bat thingies here, and like it just looks a whole lot better after adding this shading gel. Even for the ones that only have one eyeball, like the wings look so much better after adding on this shading gel. Like it just took it to the next level. Then that was the last little detail for these, and after I got that on, I did go ahead and cure for a full 60 seconds. Now I'm taking my shiny top coat from LGN and applying that to all of the nails. After I get it on, I do cure for a full 60 seconds. And I was thinking about making the background part be shiny and then making the eyeball bats be matte. That was like my original plan when I first started this set. But then after everything that I did and how complicated I had to go and make everything and all that time that I spent on it, I didn't feel like doing that anymore. I'm like, I just want to be done. So I just went ahead and made everything shiny. But I do think it would be really cool to have the eyeball bats be matte and then have the background be shiny. That would be really fun as well to have that contrast. But like I said, I was not in the mood to do that anymore at this point. And this is the finished result. I am super happy with these. I really love how they came out. I I really love the contrast of like the solid, like, oh, here you can see better. the jelly color that I did on the eyes. It's very light, and I did a very light like wash of it, but it was enough to make them look a little more bloodshot. Um, but anyhow, I'm super happy with them, and like I was saying, I do really like the contrast of like this sparkly, glittery background with the solid, opaque cream polish that I used on top of it. Like, it just makes them pop out a little bit more, which is super cool. So if you ever do any kind of like character art or something and you really want them to pop out, throw them on some cat eye. It really like makes your character art or nail art or whatever stand out. Because as you can see here, like they're really popping out because it's like glittery in the background and then like just a solid block of color pretty much, which is super cool. And look how cool they look under the flash with all the glitter and sparkle. Like I said, this cat eye is super pretty. It has those like purpley pinky glitters as well as like the blue glitters. So pretty. Honestly, it's kind of giving me TV static, but if TV static was purple instead of gray. Oh, and look at this and this shot. Oh my gosh, they're so cool. They look so good. I'm super happy with them, and even though things kind of didn't necessarily go the way I was planning, they ended up coming out even better than what I was originally planning for and what I was originally picturing in my mind. So I'm kind of happy that things kind of took a turn and went a different route because it ended up being really good, and I'm super, super happy with these. But that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it.